welcome back to Kimberly Needs as we continue with changes for Molly. Chapter 2, A Hair-Raising Experience. That night, Molly couldn't sleep. Dad's coming home. Dad's coming home, she kept thinking. She felt the excitement growing inside until she thought she'd burst with happiness. She kept imagining how it would be when Dad saw her in the show. She would be wearing the glamorous Miss Victory costume. All the lights would be shining on her. Silver stars would sparkle in her curly hair. Dad would watch her to the complicated tap dance. Afterwards, backstage, Dad would say, "Why, Molly, you've changed so much. You're so grown up and sophisticated. Just as much as Jill." Then they all would come home and celebrate. Molly went through the wonderful imaginary scenery again and again. Molly rolled over and stared up at the ceiling. What would it be like to have Dad home again after being away at war for 2 years? What would it like for him to come back in the house? Molly could remember the warm, vanilla-y smell of his tobacco and the sound of his voice calling out, "I'm home," at the end of the day. But Dad's face was a little blurry in her memory. She scrunched up her eyes and tried to picture Dad's face clearly. The way he really looked, not the way he looked in his army uniform and the shadowy black and white snapshots he sent from England. She couldn't seem to see him. Finally, Molly got out of bed and tipped downstairs to the living room to look at the old photo albums. She sat cross-legged on the couch, holding the biggest album on her lap. She stared at the pictures pasted to the black pages. There was a funny one of Dad painting the garage. He looked so tall and handsome and happy. On the next page, there was a picture of the whole family together, taken at Thanksgiving a few months before Dad left for the war. It was very discouraging. Everyone but me looks so different now, thought Molly. I look exactly the same now as I did then. Just plain old me. "Molly," she heard Mom say, "I thought I saw a light down here. Why are you up?" "I couldn't sleep," said Molly. "I kept thinking about Dad coming home." "Me too," said Mom. She sat next to Molly on the couch. "It'll be so wonderful they'll be home on the 18th of March, said Molly. "You can see all of us in the show." "Now, Molly," said Mom, "don't go getting your hopes up. Dad said he might be here on the 18th. But the Army often changes plans at the last minute. I'm sure Dad will do his best to get here in time for the show, but you can't count on it." Molly knew Mom was being sensible, but she was still sure Dad would be home in time to see her as Miss Victory. It would just be so perfect. She didn't want to hear any discouraging warnings, so she said, "I sort of couldn't remember what Dad sounded like. That's when I got out the old photo albums." Mom held up the album on her lap. She looked at the Thanksgiving picture. "Grandpa took this picture. I remember that day very well," she said. "There I am in my polka dot dress. It was new black then. I still wear that dress sometimes. It doesn't look so stylish anymore," she sighed. "Neither do I'm afraid." She pushed back a lock of hair behind one ear. "Look at Brad. He was just a baby. He looks so different now." "Do you think Dad will look different?" asked Molly. "Yeah, he probably will," said Mom. "He'll probably look a little thinner and a little older, just as I do." "Do you think he'll act different?" Molly asked. "I don't know," said Mom. "He has seen some very terrible things during the war. War does change people. It doesn't just happen then and then disappear, all forgiven and forgotten. War leaves scars on people, and not just the kind of scars you can see. But I think Dad will be our same old Dad at heart. He still loves us. We'll have to get used to one another again. It may take some time. We're all older. We're all different." "I sure want Dad to see that I'm different," said Molly. "I want him to see that I'm grown up now. Not just a plain dumb kid anymore. But the problem is I don't look different." Mom hugged Molly. "Your Dad will be happy to see you. He won't care what you look like," she said. "You know he'll always love you and be proud of you no matter what." "Mothers always say that," said Molly. "Because it's true," said Mrs. McIntyre with a smile. "And here's another thing mothers always say. Get to bed. Tomorrow's a school day. Besides, it's cold down here. You don't want us to greet Dad with a red nose and sniffles, do you? Come on now. Off to bed, lickety-split." "Okay," said Molly. She hugged her mother and went back upstairs, carrying the photo album with her. "I will look different, though," she said to herself. "I can't wait to get that permanent." However, Molly did have to wait. She had to wait two more days until Saturday, when she and Linda got their movie money. The movie cost 25 cents, and they all got nickels for popcorn. Susan's mother always gave her extra nickel in case of an emergency. Luckily, Molly had 30 cents over from the dollar Grandpa had given her for Christmas, so that was just enough money. The permanent wave kit cost $1.25. It's really nice of you to give up your movie money, Molly said to Linda and Susan as the girls head to the drugstore. Well, said Linda, I hear this movie has lots of kissing and mushy stuff in it, so I don't care about missing it. Linda liked cowboy and Indian movies. Besides, said Susan, your dad is coming home. This is going to be the most important day of your whole entire life so far. You ought to have those curls, not just to be Miss Victory, but to show how grown up and sophisticated you are. It's so exciting. Molly nodded. I can't believe he's finally coming home after all this time. You're so lucky, Molly, said Susan. Your dad's coming home safe and sound. Yeah, not like Grace Littlefield's father, said Linda. Mr. Littlefield's legs had been wounded in the war, and he would never walk again. Poor Grace, said Molly softly. It would be terrible to have a father who couldn't walk anymore, said Susan. I bet Grace is just happy he's home and alive, said Linda. Think about Miss Campbell. All the girls got quiet. Their third grade teacher, Miss Campbell, had been engaged to marry a soldier who was killed during the summer. I wonder if Miss Campbell's soldier ever thought he might get killed and be dead forever and never get to marry Miss Campbell, said Susan. Every soldier knows he might get killed, said Molly. That's why every soldier is a hero. Yeah, but it seems to me that once they're killed, they just go to heaven where everything is fine, said Linda. It's people up behind on Earth who love them and have a harder time. They're sad, but they have to go on with the rest of their lives. I think Miss Campbell is as much as a hero as her soldier was. But she can be proud of the sacrifice she made for her country, said Susan. I think I'd get more sad than proud if my dad got killed, said Molly. Me too, said Susan. Me too, said Linda. I'd rather be happy and have the person I love safe and sound than be proud because he died a hero. Yeah, said Molly. Well, at least the war is supposed to be almost over. Our soldiers have pushed all the way into Germany. Mom says the Nazis have to surrender soon. I sort of don't get it, said Susan. How do they decide when the war is over? Does one side decide to change his mind and say it was wrong and surrender? No, said Linda. The war is over when one side gives up because so many of its soldiers are killed it can't fight anymore. Oh, said Susan. Well, it'll be great to have all the fighting in. I can hardly remember what it was like before the war. When it ends, everything will be wonderful. It seems like everything should be wonderful, said Linda, but I don't see how it can be when so many people will be sad about their dads and friends and everyone who got killed or wounded. That's why our Hooray for the USA show is so important, said Molly. It's a way to show the wounded men that we're glad that they're alive and to thank them for being so brave. That's right, said Susan. It doesn't seem like very much, but I guess it's the best we can do, agreed Linda. And now they're standing outside the door of their drugstore. Now, when we go in, you better let me do all the talking, said Susan, because I know about the permanent. Okay, said Molly and Linda. They gave all their money to Susan as she led them inside. The shelves seemed fuller these days, now that there was less rationing. In the hair care section, there were lots of different shampoos and more than one kind of home permanent kit. Susan read one of the boxes. It said, Big, beautiful, bouncy curls for the new you. Oh, this is definitely the one we want, Susan said, so you can be the new you, the new Molly. Better get extra strong formula, said Linda, because Molly has long hair. As Susan was paying for the kit, the drugstore man said, Does your mother know you're using this? Oh, it's not for me, said Susan innocently. It's for someone older. That was true. Molly's birthday was 2 months before Susan's. The three girls rushed out of the store and hurried back to Molly's house. They had decided to give Molly a permanent in their secret hideout, the room of the garage. Susan dragged a rickety old chair in the middle of the room. Here, she said to Molly, sit in this. It's just like a beauty parlor. She wrapped a dusty sheet around Molly's shoulders. Some beauty parlor. One thing, it's cold up here, shivered Linda. How are you going to shampoo your hair? We don't have any water. Oh, Oh, we can't skip that part, said Susan. She began to unbraid Molly's hair. Oh, we can't skip it, said Linda. It says right here on the box. First shampoo hair. That's probably only your hair is dirty, said Susan. Molly's hair is clean already. Gosh, it sure is straight, Molly. And it's kind of long. Maybe we should cut it a little bit so the curlers can hold it better. Molly felt nervous. She began to think Susan didn't really know what she was doing. I think we better not cut my hair, she said. If we did, Mom would be really mad. Okay, said Susan. I don't have any scissors anyway. Now let me see. I guess it's time to put the waving lotion in your hair. She opened the bottle of lotion. A terrible smell filled the room. P.U., exclaimed Linda. That stuff smells awful. It smells like wet dog, said Molly. I don't want to smell like that. Oh, for heaven's sake, said Susan. If you want curls, you're just going to have to put up that smell. I'm sure it'll wear off for a while. Maybe this bottle of lotion has gone bad or something, said Linda. She was pinching her nose between two fingers. Does the waving lotion glory you smell like this? I don't know, said Susan. You don't know? Weren't you there when she gave herself the permanent? Asked Molly. Not exactly, said Susan. I mean, I don't exactly watch her do the whole thing. I saw her with curlers in her hair. I saw her after when she had the curlers out. Susan, groaned Molly, you don't know how to do all this, do you? Of course I do, snapped Susan. Anybody can read the direction on the box and kind of figure out as you go along. Oh, brother, said Linda. Molly's probably going to end up bald. She will not, Susan began. Just then the door swung open and Jill burst in. What are you guys doing here? She asked. Just playing, said Molly. What are you doing up to? I came to, said Jill. She stopped talking to the air. Gosh, it reeks in here. What are you? She looked at Molly sitting in the chair with her hair down. Then she frowned and squinted at Molly. Molly McIntyre, it smells like permanent wave lotion in here. You're not letting Linda and Susan give you a permanent, are you? Molly, Linda, and Susan were silent. Don't do it, Molly, said Jill. Really, it's not that easy to do it right, and it'll look horrible if it comes out wrong. You'll regret it. You really will. I need curly hair, waved Molly. I have to have it for the show and for Dad and everything. I absolutely have to. Jill sighed. A permanent isn't the way to get curls. With hair like yours, it'll just give you wrinkles and frizz. Listen, I can understand why you want to look good. I'll even help you. I'll set your hair every night between now and the show if that's what you really want, I promise. Really? Asked Molly. Really, said Jill. Molly was relieved. Gee, she said. Thanks, Jill. That'll be much better. Yeah, said Linda, who sort of knew we were getting over our heads with this permanent business. Get it? Even Molly had to laugh. Molly was glad this hair-raising experience was over. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.